The silent expansion, the discovery, the Galactic Union had existed for 12,000 music cycles, a sprawling confederation of 47 species spanning across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. In all that time, they had encountered countless civilizations, cataloged thousands of worlds, and established protocols for every conceivable diplomatic situation, yet somehow they had completely missed the humans. Director Kelvin of the Union Survey Corps still remembered the embarrassment that swept through the council chambers when the report came in: a thriving civilization of 8 billion souls, broadcasting radio signals for nearly 2 centuries, sitting right in a supposedly empty sector that the Union had classified as low priority exploration zone. The bureaucratic nightmare that followed was legendary. The humans, for their part, seemed entirely unbothered by the revelation that they were galactic newcomers when the Union's first contact team arrived in orbit around Earth, expecting the usual mixture of awe, fear, or aggression that new species typically displayed. They were met with something far more unsettling: casual acceptance. "Oh, aliens want some coffee," had been the exact words of the first human they spoke to, a scientist named Dr. Sarah Akono. She had been more interested in asking questions about their faster than light drives than expressing any shock at the existence of extraterrestrial life. The stereotype: within 3 galactic cycles, humanity had earned a peculiar reputation throughout the Union. They were the species that simply did not care about anything. When the Zephyr Collective, a proud warrior race, had challenged humanity to ritual combat over a territorial dispute, the human representative had shrugged and offered to flip a coin instead. The Zephyr were so confused they forgot to be offended when the mechanical Concordat accused humans of violating ancient navigation laws. The human diplomat had apologized, paid the fine without argument, and then continued doing exactly what they had been doing before. The galaxy learned quickly that humans operated on a principle that baffled every other species: strategic apathy. They seemed to lack the instinctive territorial aggression that drove most space-faring civilizations. They would trade with anyone, negotiate with everyone, and compromise on almost everything. Ambassador Li Qin exemplified this attitude perfectly, a woman in her 50s, with steel-gray hair and eyes that held a perpetual hint of amusement. She had represented humanity at the Galactic Union for 2 cycles. In that time, she had earned a reputation as the easiest diplomat to work with and simultaneously the most frustrating. Ambassador Qin Kelvin had once asked her directly, "Do humans actually care about anything? Your species seems completely unbothered by situations that would send any other civilization into panic." Qin had smiled. That enigmatic smile of hers: "Director Kelvin, we care about plenty of things. We just have different priorities than most species, such as long-term survival." She had replied simply, leaving Kelvin more confused than before. The Viral Dominion, the Vil, were not members of the Galactic Union. They did not need to be. With a military that rivaled the combined forces of a dozen Union worlds and a philosophy built on conquest and domination, they carved their own path through the stars. For 8 centuries, the VL had been expanding slowly but inexorably, absorbing territory from weaker species and intimidating stronger ones into non-intervention. They were not genocidal, they merely subjugated, making conquered species into permanent underclasses within their empire. The Union had fought 3 wars against them, losing 2 and achieving a stalemate in the third. High Commander Vri of the Viral Dominion was a towering figure, even by his species standards. His crimson scales gleamed under the harsh lights of his command ship, and his forearms moved with the precision of a career military officer. He had personally overseen the conquest of 9 star systems, and he was hungry for more when his scouts reported on the human expansion into the outer reaches, a territory the VL had been eyeing for decades. Vri saw an opportunity. These humans were weak, industrious, and apparently lacked any fighting spirit whatsoever. They would be easy prey. Prepare the fleet, he ordered his subordinates. We will claim the human colonies within 6 cycles. The warning. The emergency session of the Galactic Union Council was called within hours of the VL announcing their intentions. Representatives from all 47 member species gathered there, holographic forms filling the massive amphitheater on Unity Station. Ambassador Chin sat calmly in the human delegation seat, her hands folded in her lap while chaos erupted around her. This is an outrage, declared Ambassador Thrl of the Aquarian League. The VL cannot simply invade a Union protectorate. Humanity is not technically a full member, countered Representative Mox of the Crystalline Assembly. They have observer status only. The protection clause may not apply. Semantics, roared General Carthax of the Fellner tribes. The VL are testing our resolve. If we do not defend the humans, they will see it as weakness. Through it all, Ambassador Chin remained silent, her expression neutral. Kelvin, watching from the director's platform, found her calmness deeply disturbing. Did she not understand the danger her species faced? Finally, Council Speaker Aldrin called for order. Ambassador Chin, you have been unusually quiet. Does humanity have a statement regarding the VL threat? Chin rose smoothly, her voice carrying clearly across the chamber despite the ambient noise. Humanity appreciates the Council's concern. We acknowledge the Dominion's claim to the outer reaches and their stated intention to annex our colonies there. A shocked silence fell over the assembly. You acknowledge it? Kelvin sputtered. Ambassador, the VL have mobilized 3 battle fleets. They are not making a diplomatic request. They are preparing to invade. Chen's smile never wavered. We are aware. Director, we have been monitoring their fleet movements for the past 2 cycles. And press General Carax, what is your response? Will you fight, evacuate, request Union military intervention? None of those options, General. We will simply continue our operations as planned. The chamber erupted again. Representatives shouted over each other, some demanding that humans be given full military support, others arguing that such foolishness deserved no protection. Still others simply expressing confusion at the human response. Ambassador Thrl approached Chin directly, his aquatic suit slashing as he moved. Ambassador, I must speak plainly. Your species has no military capable of resisting the VL. Your fleet is primarily commercial vessels with minimal defensive capabilities. Your colonies are unfortified. If you do not accept Union assistance, or at minimum evacuate your citizens, you are condemning millions to conquest and subjugation. Chin met his eyes steadily. We appreciate your concern, Ambassador. THRL, but humanity will handle this matter in our own way, by surrendering. Kelvin asked incredulously, by waiting. Shin replied, the preparation, what the Galactic Union did not know, what even Director Kelvin's extensive intelligence network had failed to uncover was that humanity had been preparing for exactly this scenario since the moment they learned about the Ver Dominion. Humans had a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. The galaxy had seen the hope, the friendly trade agreements, the easy compromises, the apparent lack of military buildup. They had not seen the preparation in shipyards hidden within asteroid fields and nebula. Human engineers had been working on colony worlds that appeared defenseless. Human military contractors had been planning in laboratories across human space. Scientists had been developing technologies that pushed the boundaries of Union law without quite breaking it. Admiral James Kowalski stood on the bridge of the Huns Defiance, one of humanity's newest vessels. Unlike the commercial ships that made up most of humanity's visible fleet, the Defiance and her sister ships were something else entirely. They did not appear on any public registry. They did not follow standard shipping routes. They did not even exist as far as galactic databases were concerned. Status report. Kowalski ordered, all Ghost Fleet vessels are in position. Admiral, his tactical officer, replied. The VL still have no idea we're here, and the colony's fortifications are complete. Surface installations remain hidden. Civilian populations have been briefed on shelter protocols. Kowalski nodded, studying the holographic display showing VL fleet positions. They were moving exactly as predicted, their arrogance making them careless. And Dr. Ayanquo's project, the quantum disruption network, is online and ready for activation on your command. The Admiral allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy thought humans didn't care. They thought humanity's casual attitude toward threats indicated weakness. They were wrong. Humans cared deeply. They simply did not waste energy on posturing. In threats they calculated. They prepared. They waited. And when the time came, they acted. Maintain radio silence. Kowalski ordered. Let them come. Let the galaxy watch. Let everyone see what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. The eve of war on Unity Station. Ambassador Chin received a private communication from Earth. She read it quickly, then deleted it. Her instructions were clear. Maintain the appearance of unconcern. Let the VL commit fully. Give them no reason to hesitate or change their approach. She thought about the conversation she'd had with Dr. Yano years ago when the scientist had first proposed the patience protocol. Most species react immediately to threats. Akinquo had explained its evolutionary fight or flight, but humans, we have a third option that confuses everyone. Wait and see, not because we're passive, but because we're gathering data, forming strategies, preparing responses. You're talking about making the galaxy think we're weak, Chin had said. I'm talking about making our enemies overconfident. Akinquo had corrected. There's a difference. Now, as Ver battle fleets crossed into human territory, Chin understood the brilliance of the plan. The galaxy had spent 3 cycles observing humanity, cataloging their apparent weaknesses, spreading stories about the species that didn't give a damn about anything. Soon they would Learn the truth, humans gave many damns. They just saved them for when it mattered most. The Ver Dominion was about to receive an education in human strategic thinking, and the Galactic Union was about to discover why humanity's ancestors had a saying, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Commander Vrek's fleet entered the outer reaches, confident in their overwhelming superiority. 3 battle fleets, 200 warships, weapons primed and ready. They expected easy victory. They expected humanity to fold. They had no idea what was waiting for them in the dark. Reckoning, the invasion begins. Hi. Commander Vre stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Crimson Talon, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. His armada had penetrated deep into human territory without encountering a single defensive position. The 7 human colonies in the outer reaches lay before him like ripe fruit waiting to be plucked. Pathetic, he muttered to his second in command, PT Drax. The intelligence reports were accurate. These humans have no military spine whatsoever. Drax's scales rippled with agreement. Shall we begin the bombardment of the first colony? Commander, not yet. Broadcast our terms first. Let them understand what subjugation means. Vre activated the fleet-wide communication system. Attention, human colonists of New Terra. You have 6 of your hours to surrender unconditionally. Evacuate to designated landing zones where you will be processed as subjects of the Ver Dominion. Resistance will be met with orbital bombardment. The Dominion has spoken. He closed the channel and settled back into his command throne, expecting the usual response: panic, transmissions, desperate pleas for negotiation, perhaps a few scattered evacuation ships fleeing in terror. Instead, silence. Communications. Vre snapped, "Are you certain our transmission was received?" Confirmed. Commander, the message reached all 7 colonies, broadcasting across all frequencies, and their response. The communications officer scales darken with confusion. "Nothing, sir. No transmissions detected. No ship movements. No energy signatures indicating panic or mobilization." Vre leaned forward. "What are they doing?" "As far as our sensors can tell, Commander, they are continuing their normal daily activities." The Galactic Union watches. On Unity Station, every major species had representatives gathered in the observation center, watching long-range sensor feeds of the outer reaches. The mood was somber. Many had advocated for military intervention, but the Council had voted against it. Humanity was not yet a full member, and the political complications of starting a war with the VL Dominion were too severe. Director Kelvin stood beside Ambassador Chin, who remained as calm as ever. It infuriated him. "Ambassador, your people are about to be conquered, and you stand there as if you're watching a sporting event," he said, unable to keep the frustration from his voice. Chin glanced at him. "Director, have you ever studied Earth's military history?" "Some." "Why, there's an old human military principle: never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake." Before Kelvin could respond, the sensor displays suddenly lit up with activity. "What in the Council's name?" General Carrick's breathed. The space around the VL fleet, which moments ago had appeared empty, was suddenly filled with human warships, not the commercial vessels everyone was familiar with, but sleek angular ships bristling with weapons that were materializing out of Nowhere Stealth Technology Ambassador. THRL whispered. They've been there. The entire time, Chin allowed herself a small smile. Actually, they've been there for 3 weeks waiting. The trap. Springs, Admiral Kowalski watched as his ghost fleet decloaked in perfect formation surrounding the Ver Armada. From all sides, 200 Vero warships found themselves encircled by 400 human vessels that, according to every galactic database, did not exist. Open a channel to the VL flagship, Kowalski ordered. Vree's face appeared on the view screen. His expression caught between shock and rage. What is this? Where did these ships come from? Hi, Commander Vree. Kowalski said calmly, I am Admiral James Kowalski of the Human United Naval Service. You are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to withdraw from human territory. Vrex. Scales flushed crimson with fury. You dare threaten the VL Dominion? We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours. Your stealth ships mean nothing. We still outnumber any recorded human military force 3-1. You outnumber our recorded military force, Kowalski agreed. That's the operative word, Commander. Recorded. It does not matter. We will crush you. Nonetheless, breered, all ships open fire. The Ver fleet unleashed a devastating barrage of plasma torpedoes and particle beams, weapons that had shattered the defenses of a dozen worlds. The human fleet should have been obliterated. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships activated defensive systems that created rippling fields of energy around each vessel. The Veil weapon struck these barriers and simply dissipated, not deflected, not absorbed, dissipated. Their energy somehow redistributed across space itself. What sorcery is this? Vree demanded. Kowalski's expression remained neutral. Quantum displacement shielding, one of the things we've been developing while everyone thought we were just building cargo haulers. Dr. Akin Quo sends her regards. By the way, it matters not. Vree snarled, though his confidence was clearly shaken. We are Ver. We do not surrender. All ships continue firing. Ram them if you must. That would be inadvisable, Kowalski said quietly. Computer, activate the patient's protocol. The patient's protocol. What happened next will be studied by militarities across the galaxy for generations. Dr. Sarah Akin Quo, now Director of Human Defense Research, had spent 3 years developing what she called the Quantum Disruption Network, while other species focused on building bigger weapons and stronger shields. She had approached warfare from a completely different angle. Every ship in the VL fleet was equipped with faster than light drives, a technology that relied on creating controlled singularities to warp space. It was standard across the galaxy based on principles discovered millennia ago by the ancient progenitor species. What Dr. Akin Quo had discovered was that these drives had a vulnerability, a very specific vulnerability that required you to know the exact quantum frequency each drive operated on, information that took months of passive scanning to collect, information that humanity had been gathering since the moment they learned about the VL Dominion, hidden throughout the outer reaches, camouflaged within asteroids and debris fields. Humanity had placed 300 quantum disruption nodes. When activated simultaneously, they created a field that destabilized FTL drives within a specific radius. Effect was immediate and catastrophic. Every Varel warship in the fleet suddenly lost main power as their drives automatically shut down to prevent catastrophic collapse. Weapon systems failed, life support switched to emergency reserves, shields flickered, and died in seconds. The most powerful military fleet in the quadrant was reduced to 200 floating hulks, completely defenseless. What have you done? Vri whispered, his voice barely audible. What we always do, Commander. Kowalski replied, we prepared, we planned, we waited for the right moment. Humanity doesn't rush into conflict. We study our opponents, we understand their technology, we find their weaknesses. And then when they're fully committed and overconfident, we act. The Admiral's voice hardened. You called us weak because we negotiate. You called us cowards because we compromise. You thought our patience meant we didn't care. You were wrong. We care deeply. We just don't waste energy posturing and threatening. We save it for this moment. You cannot do this, Vri protested. Galactic Union has lost rules of warfare. What you've done is perfectly legal. Ambassador Chen's voice came through on the channel she had patched in from Unity Station. Her image appearing beside Kowalski's. The quantum disruption network does not destroy ships, does not harm crew members, and does not violate any Union treaty regarding weapons of mass destruction. It simply turns things off. Your crews are perfectly safe in their disabled vessels. You can even breathe. Emergency life support is still functioning. She leaned forward slightly. You were warned, Commander Vri, by me, by the Council, by everyone who understood that humanity's calm exterior was not weakness, it was calculation. But you, like so many others, mistook our strategic patience for indifference. The galaxy reacts. On Unity Station, the observation center had fallen into stunned silence. The sensor feeds showed the VL fleet, the terror of the galaxy, floating helplessly while human warships maintained perfect formation around them. Director Kelvin turned to Ambassador Chin, who had returned to standing beside him after closing the communication. You planned this entire scenario from the beginning, from the moment we learned about the VL. Yes, Shin confirmed. We knew eventually they would target us. Species like the VL always do. They see new civilizations as opportunities for easy conquest, so we gave them exactly what they expected to see: a weak, undefended species too apathetic to fight back. The commercial fleet, the lack of visible military presence, your complete unconcern at council meetings. Kelvin's mind was racing, reassessing every interaction he'd had with humanity. It was all theater, strategic deception. Chin corrected. We learned long ago, back when humans fought only amongst themselves, that the best victories are won before the first shot is fired. Sun Tzu, an ancient Earth military strategist, wrote that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. We didn't want to fight the VL, we wanted them to defeat themselves. General Carax approached, his expression a mixture of respect and weariness. Those warships, the disruption network, how long have you been building them? The Ghost Fleet construction began 18 months ago. The disruption network took 3 years to develop, in 6 months to deploy. Chin met his gaze steadily. We have been preparing for this exact scenario since our second month in the Galactic Union, and if the VL hadn't attacked, Ambassador THRL asked, then the fleet would have remained hidden. the network would have stayed dormant, and the galaxy would have continued to. Think of humans as the species that doesn't care about anything. Chin shrug. We prefer being underestimated. It's strategically advantageous. The aftermath, Admiral Kowalski offered. Commander Vri terms, the Ver fleet would be escorted out of human territory. Their ship's FTL drives would be restored once they crossed the border. In exchange, the Ver Dominion would sign a non-aggression pact with humanity and pay reparations for the attempted invasion. Vri with no other options agreed. As the disabled Vel ships were slowly towed toward the border by human vessels, the galaxy watched and learned. Humanity was not weak, they were not indifferent, they were something far more dangerous. They were patient, calculating, and willing to appear vulnerable in order to gain strategic advantage. Within days, 3 other species that had been considering territorial expansion into human space quietly withdrew their claims. Mechanical Concordat issued a formal apology for their earlier accusations and requested a technology exchange agreement. The Zephyr Collective sent a delegation to Earth asking to study human strategic doctrine. Even the isolationists, the species whose empire's name was literally F***, off. You Xeno scum don't deserve to know the name of our species or its glorious empire, sent a message to humanity. It consisted of a single line: you're all right, let's talk trade. On Unity Station, the Council called an emergency session to vote on humanity's status. The motion passed unanimously. Humanity would be elevated to full council membership with all rights and protections thereof. Ambassador Chen accepted graciously, then immediately proposed her first motion as a full council member: the establishment of a galactic non-aggression treaty framework based on human principles of strategic patience and measured response. The motion passed. Every species voted in favor because they had all learned the same lesson the VL had learned: never mistake human patience for weakness, never confuse their calm for indifference, and never ever assume that because humans don't immediately react to a threat, they haven't been preparing for it. The real message. Months later, Director Kelvin met privately with Ambassador Chin in her office on Unity Station. I need to know, he said without preamble. The quantum disruption technology, the Ghost Fleet, the fact that you had detailed intelligence on real ship systems. How long have you really been preparing? Chin poured him a cup of coffee. Humans had introduced the beverage to the station, and it had become surprisingly popular. Director, humanity has been preparing for conflict with other species since before we left our solar system, not because we're warlike or aggressive, but because we're practical. We hoped we'd encounter peaceful civilizations. We prepared for meeting hostile ones. That level of forethought, it's almost paranoid. It's survival. Chin corrected. Humans learned a harsh lesson in our own history. The species that survives isn't the strongest or the most aggressive. It's the most adaptable, the one that prepares for multiple scenarios, the one that can appear weak while building strength, the one that knows when to fight and when to wait. She took a sip of her own coffee. We don't give a damn about most things, Director. We don't care about posturing or pride or proving ourselves, but survival, the safety of our people that we care about deeply, deeply enough to spend years planning building and waiting for a threat that we hoped would never come. And when the next threat arrives, Kelvin asked, Chin smiled that enigmatic smile of hers. We in LT Unc and GT LL do what we always do. We'll appear unconcerned. We'll negotiate in good faith. We'll try every peaceful option available, and while we're doing that, we'll be studying, preparing, and positioning ourselves for the moment when patience must become action. She stood, moving to the window that looked out over the stars. The galaxy is learning, director, slowly but learning. Humanity doesn't seek conflict. We genuinely prefer peace, cooperation, and mutual prosperity, but we're also the species that survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and near-extinction events on our own world. We're adaptable, we're patient, and when pushed, we're absolutely relentless. That's what frightens them, Kelvin said quietly. Good, Chin replied, a little healthy. Fear leads to respect, respect leads to cooperation, and cooperation is what we've wanted all along. We don't need the galaxy to love us, we just need them to understand that the species that doesn't seem to give a damn actually gives the most calculated damns of all. Epoch. In the years that followed, humanity became known as the mediators of the Galactic Union. When conflicts arose between species, it was humans who brokered peace agreements. When territorial disputes threatened to escalate into war, it was human negotiators who found compromised solutions. The galaxy learned to appreciate humanity's unique perspective. They didn't rush to judgment, they didn't react emotionally. They considered all angles, prepared for multiple outcomes, and acted with deliberate precision. The VL Dominion, humiliated by their defeat initially, retreated into isolationism, but within 5 years they approached humanity with a proposition: teach us your strategic methods. In exchange, we offer an alliance. Dr. Akinquo, now elderly but still sharp, established the first Galactic Strategic Studies Institute on Earth. Species from across the Union sent their brightest military minds to study human approaches to conflict resolution, strategic planning, and what became known as active patience. The Quantum Disruption Network remained operational, now expanded to protect not just human space but all Union territories. It served as a deterrent that kept even the most aggressive species cautious about starting wars. And Ambassador Li Qin, in her retirement speech before the Galactic Council, summarized humanity's philosophy perfectly. We are the species that learned patience through survival. We are the people who discovered that the best victory is the one where no one has to die. We are humans, and we don't give a damn about pride, posturing, or proving ourselves. We give a damn about living, thriving, and building a galaxy where all species can do the same. We waited 3 billion years to reach the stars. We can wait a little longer to do it right. The council erupted in applause from 47 different species, each understanding now what it meant when humans said they didn't care. They cared about everything. They just chose their battles carefully, and the galaxy was better for it.